Thank you for joining the Wellness Whisperers first podcast. And I'm here today with two Wellness Whisperers who are my favorite folks, Marti Lee and Starr Evans, and they are the owners of In Bliss Studio here in Kansas City. In Bliss Studio is one of the largest, most successful, most popular yoga studios in the Midwest, definitely in Kansas City. So we are going to begin and ask, Marti, tell us what your prior career was before yoga.
So my real job, I was a deputy juvenile officer for Jackson County Family Court, and I did that for 20 years. It was a wonderful, really a wonderful work, helping, being in service to the community, to the youth of Kansas City. That's
Wonderful.
what I did.
And you have been in yoga steeped since 10 years old. You probably haven't had a prior career from yoga.
I did though, yeah.
Oh.
I worked for Commerce Bank for like six to 8 years. I kind of forget now.
Okay.
Because it's been about 6 or 8 years since I quit and am now teaching yoga full time. But for a long time, I was a banker by day, yogi by night.
Well, I love it. Do either of you feel that your prior corporate positions made you better businesswomen to run your studio?
I think that my banking experience helped me a lot, to be honest, because I learned a lot about finances. When I worked for Commerce, I did every role. I was a teller, I was a supervisor, so I had a team and I had to manage a schedule. And then I switched over to personal banking and I learned about car loans and how interest works and stuff like that. And so that helped me a lot with learning how to schedule things with our teachers here at the studio, learning how to do QuickBooks and things like that to be able to help with our accounting, for our business.
I think that gives our viewers, because we're going to have people that want to start a studio watching, we're going to have people that are students watching, not just walk in and say, how did these women pull this off? I mean, you have a solid business background, you have a passion for yoga. And how do you feel being the juvenile officer at Jackson County gave you the resilience to step forward into this and do what you're doing, helping people be courageous and healthy?
Well, because that job was stressful, so it was just the nature of that job. We were dealing with delinquency and abuse, and kind of all the sadness that happens in society, in our community, unfortunately. That's why I turned to yoga. I needed to find some stress management, and yoga is definitely it, because it helps you to calm your mind when you're stressed out. It helps you to also stay fit, so that your body is in better condition to handle life, and so that's what yoga did for me.
Wonderful. Now, you were telling me last week that In Bliss was actually conceived on a beach, like 2006. Can you tell us how you came up with the concept and how you came up with the idea?
Well, Starr and I, prior to having In Bliss, were the owners of another yoga studio, Zona Yoga, and so we had business partners. There was actually 4 of us, and we, it did pretty well for a brand new business, and all of us were brand new at what we were doing. But when you have too many people involved in something, it's like having too many cooks in the kitchen. Okay, and so Starr and I wanted to cook our own thing, and they wanted to cook their thing, which they did. They both, continued to do yoga and have their own yoga studios. And on the beach, in Hollywood Beach, we were in Hollywood Beach, Florida, we decided that we were going to start our own thing and just do it our way, because we had ideas that we wanted to implement, and that's what we did.
So the entrepreneurial spirit came out of the beach, and that's wonderful, and you executed big. So that's wonderful. I'm going to circle back and now ask you back to your childhood. Obviously, you had a strong mother as a role model.
Yes.
And you were teaching originally before the partnership at Zona Rosa in churches and gyms and houses and various places, right?
Yes.
So I take it when you were 10, when you started also helping teach, that was at churches and in the house, or where was that at?
Yes, so when I was 10, that's when Mom started practicing yoga, and I wanted to do everything that my mom did. So when she started doing yoga, I was like, Mom, take me with you. I want to go too. And even though it was hard for me as a 10-year-old, especially Shavasana was the hardest part. I remember looking around and being like, how do these people hold so still? I don't get it. Even as a child, I could tell how it helped me, how it really helped me with the stress of school and dealing with kids at school and stuff like that. And then when she started teaching yoga, I was a teenager by the time she started teaching. I was like 15, 16, and so I became her assistant. So I went with my mom to the gyms and to the studios, and I would help her set up. And even back then, we were doing, we like to offer foot massages during Shavasana.
How smart is that?
And we would also do like little back rubs during some of the breathing exercises and stuff like that. So that was my job. So I would go around and rub people's backs, and I would rub their feet during Shavasana. And if anyone needed a prop or something, I'd run and go get the prop, and I would help them. So that's how I kind of got started, was just with assisting. And then out of my childhood home, we started offering these weekend workshops. And we made it kind of all-encompassing, where we had yoga, we also would offer food, and even some live entertainment, because my little brother could play the guitar.
That's wonderful.
So it was a whole family thing, and so that's when I started teaching with her, because she would teach a little segment, and then I would teach a little segment, and she would teach a little segment, so we started co-teaching, and that added like a fun dynamic to have two different voices leading a class.
I would have loved to have been there to see that, and you should be very proud bringing your children into the business world and into just working together. How cool is that? Let's talk about that. So this is a podcast about the business of wellness. So we're talking about, it's fun, it's from the heart, but obviously there's those business elements of family-based business. I mean,
Yes.
It seems very effortless for you two to work together.
It is.
But that's not the case with all families. So it just works. Is there any tips or guidelines you have for anyone else that's going to try to do a mother-daughter thing or husband-wife studio?
I think that what we do is we listen to each other. And so when Starr feels very strong about doing something and she wants to do it a certain way, I'm like, let's do it. I mean, I pay attention to her gut. And when I say to her, I feel like we need to do blah, 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 she listens to me. And so it's never really been an issue.
If you two could bottle that and teach that to the corporate world, oh my gosh, the world would be a better place right there. Because, just that respect and
honoring. You have to honor, your partner for, even though she's my daughter, she, in the business world, she's not just my daughter. She is my partner. And she has really good ideas. She's very smart. And so I always do I listen to her opinion. She's got good opinions.
Wonderful. Yay.
And for me, she's like my teacher, so when she has something that's like, this is what we need to do, I'm like, yes, you're right, Mom, this is what we need to do. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing that I think helps us too is that we naturally have different strengths that we try to use to our advantage in running the business. I've always been really good at math, for example, and doing the stuff like payroll and the bookkeeping and stuff doesn't stress me out too much. And it's something that I actually enjoy doing. Like, I like the numbers.
That banker in you.
That banker in me comes out. Now what does stress me out is social media. I get very stressed trying to think of the words I would want to use. And so one post would take me forever because I would be nitpicking what words to use and stuff, And then on the flip side, my mom is very creative and naturally, like our marketing manager.
I love social media. I love it. People always say like the things that they don't like about social media, and some of those things are true. But social media is how we now communicate with each other. And for example, during the pandemic, when we were all afraid to go to the grocery store, right? That's what we had, and that's how we were able to communicate with each other. And I think that helped us with our business, because I was on Facebook and Instagram doing yoga things, and we were reminding people, that whatever is going on won't last forever, and that we can live in uncertainty. We can, and we can even thrive in uncertainty, and we had a lot of uncertainty
Oh
during
my
the
God!
pandemic.
Yes,
you know?
it was not a good time for all of us, and it's great that you're putting a positive spin on social media. I do social media for a living, and I know even I can just be on the screen time too much. And I suffer from depression, so you just really have to balance that. But I know going to In Bliss's Facebook page is always a rejuvenation for me. I always smile, I always laugh, I always get that nugget of wisdom I'm looking for.
Thank you.
And when I came to class on Halloween Day, it was just so wonderful to open the door and the instructors are in full Halloween regalia and just being silly.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it's about having fun. That's what life is about. And if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right.
Right. Right. Let's explain your accent.
Okay.
Where are you from? And
Okay.
because obviously there's a difference in vocal tones.
Well, for a while there, when she was little, they thought that she had a speech impediment.
Oh.
And so I had to go to the school and explain to them that what she really has is a Brooklyn accent. So I'm from Brooklyn. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, graduated high school. I've lived here for a very long time, but it's just a very difficult accent to get rid of.
No, well, we love it. It's endearing to us. All right, so this part, we're going to move into the numbers of In Bliss. If you don't know the numbers, big deal, but I just wanted to ask you a few questions. We are in the Ohm Room, which is, what did you say the size of this room was?
It's about 1,200 square feet.
Okay, so we're in a 1,200 square foot, the smallest room in Bliss. And then there's the big room, and
It's twice the size of this room.
2,400 square feet. So we're in an almost 4,000 square foot studio, which is very ambitious for a yoga studio. That's a lot of space to fill and a lot of overhead, but you do it. So I also wanted just to shout out to these gals. This is the largest, fastest growing single location studio that we know of, at least in Kansas City, probably beyond. So it's a big coup. How many people are drifting through your doors every month?
So I prepared you this question, so I actually know the answer. That within the last 30 days, we've had 1,700 people come through the door.
With smiles on their
With smiles on their
I
face.
know,
Yeah.
and that's awesome. So you're not hurting for business, obviously. More surprisingly for me, being a marketing person, because I observe this wonderful marketing person, that you address people by name when they enter the door. And I'm like, how on earth?
Well, everyone's important. And when people come here, we want them to know that they're important and that they're important to us.
It shows, and it's amazing. It's not Cheers, it's not a bar, but
Yes.
it's definitely a family, which
Yes.
a lot of businesses say they are, but you guys are walking that talk very well.
We're a community. I mean, and I remember, when we started, it was a small community, but now we really are a community. And I mean, we've had people there are students that come here to this particular location that I have known since 2004.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
Yes.
That's commitment. So you had about, over 1,000 people come through last month, and you have on your window outside 30 classes. Mm-hmm. That's a lot. That's a lot to manage. Who's lining up all those instructors and all the slots to teach all those classes?
I'm the one that does all the scheduling because that's something that I feel really comfortable doing.
Good.
And it makes it easier because we do have a set schedule, so it's not something I'm having to constantly change. But obviously, people need subs and stuff like that. And we've been at this location for 11 years now, and we've been able to retain almost all of our teachers. Like, we've had some teachers come and go, but for the most part, we have the same teachers that we started with.
That's unheard of. What would you say is your secret to that? Why so strong of the relationships with the instructors?
Well, we literally pick them out of the crowd. And so the way that we pick our teachers is that our teachers were students. They were our students, and we mentored them. And before they became teachers, we wanted to make sure this is what they wanted to do. And we could tell that they had the same love. There's a yoga love that you need to have, and not everyone has it.
And you can sniff that out.
I could sniff it out. That's why I got this nose. I sniffed it out, and really everyone that teaches here, I feel like I'm like their yoga mama, and I have helped them to become, because they're all wonderful teachers. That's why we feature them, in special classes and everything, which I'm sure we'll get into later.
Yes.
But all of them are outstanding. They're all outstanding. And so we all teach very similar, but at the same time, their personality comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have strong teachers.
Yes.
I remember coming, and Chris was my first teacher, and that's the only class I went to, so I just thought she was the owner. I'm like, oh no,
Yes.
Marti and Starr, but I mean, obviously you
Oh, yeah,
you
she's a
taught all
wonderful
those
teacher.
techniques and the professionalism with the microphone systems and the stage and the elevation and all the tools. It's just top notch.
Thank you.
So you have about, how many teachers? I'm sorry, did we cover that?
So we have, I think, 9 teachers that are like our employees, and then we also have subs that that don't necessarily have a regular class, but they help us with subbing classes. And we've been able to get more subs just within the last few years of us offering yoga teacher training, because now we have our own yoga school, and so through our yoga school we're literally training our new teachers. And so these new teachers, while we don't really have space to add to the schedule, we have space to have them help us whenever we need a sub. So we have a lot of subs that are eager and waiting for when they can step in and help us out.
So from an outside perspective, you have your regular classes, which are your bread and butter, the 30 classes a week. And then you have your specialty classes, which are about 6 or so extra that are outside of the paid membership. And would you describe, what's a specialty class? What are we talking about what are those called?
So that's something that's outside of our regular schedule, right? And it's usually something different than what we normally offer, something different than a regular class. So one of our specialty classes is Chris's Yoga Nidra. So we don't offer Yoga Nidra during the week, so it's something special that they can only do on first or third Fridays. Another specialty event is the Yin with Dr. Kim. Dr. Kim is one of our teachers, but we don't have Yin yoga regularly during the week, so once a month she gets to have that feature of having Yin yoga. And then we have Joyce that does the glow and flow. Joyce is one of our regular teachers, but this gives her an opportunity to really do it her style. Joyce has a lot of upbeat energy, and that way she can do that once a month. And then we do our own special event quarterly that we call the Chakra Balance. And it went from only being an hour to, I think in December it's going to be a 3-hour thing that we put on, just because of everything that we like to incorporate in the Chakra Balance to help balance you, mind, body, and spirit.
I need to be there.
Yes, you'll love it.
Yeah, and it's wonderful that there's no way to get bored.
Right.
You can rotate, you can take it easy, you can do the Ashtanga, you can do the specialty class, you can do step in parks. I mean, you just always mix it up, so it's never dull.
The classes are dynamic. I mean, you can come here literally from Monday through Saturday and have a different class.
Or instructor.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's wonderful. All right, so I'm going to back up to growing the business. You said you've been in this location for 12 years, and you've done your other locations and tried partnerships, which often doesn't work, because I had that same experience. But I've read that the first 2 years of starting a yoga school or studio is hard. Was that the case for In Bliss? Was it hard?
It was definitely harder in the beginning, and it's gotten easier as we've become more established. Something that we did to make it easier for us to establish ourselves is we never changed the times of our classes. The time of our classes have always been the same. So people that started 12 years ago with us, if they dropped off and they show up 5 years later, we're still offering Ashtanga at 5:30 on Mondays.
I commend you for that, because it's so hard to remember. Where am I supposed to be?
Yes.
What time does things start?
So it's nice to have that placeholder. You know, you want to be, you want to be stable. You want to provide that for your students. You know, we're here for you.
Right, wonderful. And then you added the school. So you've got the regular classes, you got the specialty classes, then you added the school piece.
Yes, just 3 years ago, right? Yeah, this is our 3rd year offering yoga school. And that is something that we wanted to do for years, but it was like a whole nother business basically to get off the ground.
It's like having a baby.
Well, you have to write a curriculum for months, Correct.
And then figure out how we want to implement it and everything like that, So yes, putting everything together, and then us feeling like we were in a place to present the information. It took us a while to feel like we were there, and then but now this year we're offering a 300-hour training, which is the advanced training, and we're actually going to graduate on my mom's 20-year anniversary of teaching yoga.
Did you plan that, Starr?
You know what? We didn't actually plan it. It was like it worked out that. And then when we looked, I was like, 20 years of you teaching yoga, it's our graduation day.
Yeah, synchronicity.
Yeah.
So I think we're ready to be teaching teachers how to teach,
Right, and then from a business standpoint, you have all these income flows. You got your regular, you got your supplemental, you got your classes, you got merchandise. That's just something else. These wonderful shirts.
Yes. We like that.
So very smart.
And then we have online classes.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, our online classes are, we've had it, I think we started those online classes in 2016, I want to say.
Yeah.
They were a lifesaver because when we had to close the studio for 2 months because of the pandemic, we had classes already.
We were totally prepared for
that.
We
were prepared. And so we were able to offer that to our students that, couldn't go out. No one was going out.
And you didn't have to figure it out. You already crossed that bridge.
It's right there. It's right there. And we kept doing it. So we kept filming. Even during the pandemic, we were still doing that. We were still offering new classes, and we also have that variety online. We have Rest and Restore, we have chair class, we have Ashtanga, we have Vinyasa, we have fundamentals. We even have, Chris has a couple of Yoga Nidra on there.
Yeah, so for the people that travel, or maybe suddenly they're on assignment in Omaha for a month, they can just dial you guys up and not miss out.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes. And it's something they can pull up on their phones or on any internet device. And it's just membership based. So you sign up for the online membership, and then you have access to our whole library of videos, which now is hundreds of videos that we've recorded with all of the different levels of classes.
This is a money question, so if you're not comfortable, just ballpark it or something. What was your investment to start In Bliss? I mean, was this like, okay, we're going to have to buy 52 pillows and blocks, and I mean, it's like a $10,000 investment, you think?
It's hard to say just because everything was so different.
Kind of fluid.
10 years ago.
Well,
you know what I mean? 10, 12 years ago, the prices of everything was different. But I have to say that we didn't start with all of our props and stuff.
Right.
Because we didn't really have that much when we were getting started. We basically just had enough to start paying the rent. And we couldn't even afford to paint the walls. As a matter of fact, this room, this Om room,
which is beautiful.
Which is beautiful now.
Yes.
Was spackled. Like the people that had left, whoever owned it before, whoever was renting it before, I don't know what they did, that they had all these holes in the walls, but they had spackled it and not painted over.
Oh gosh.
So we called it the cloud room.
Yes.
Marketing.
Yeah. So it was the cloud room back when we first started because of all the spackling, everywhere. And so we had to be in business for a while before we had enough money to be able to buy paint and paint the walls.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think, as business owners, and I've started several, you forget. In the beginning, you're bootstrapping, baby.
Right.
Yeah, you are not buying the best equipment and having the best. But
And our mats were donated. A lot of our students, as our students would upgrade and buy a better mat, they would say, "Would you like this mat?" Yes. And so those are the mats that now we have better mats, but for a while that's what we had. We had the mats that our students had donated us.
Well, it's beautiful, and I will share. I brought my husband to his first class maybe 2 weeks ago, and the outside of the building is a strip mall. It's just kind of it's a beautiful logo outside, but when you walk in, you're blown away. And this was Tom's words, because he's like, I never expected it to be so beautiful inside. And just, the mandalas and the hangings and the salt lamps, and it's just, you've made this remarkable. It's like a coliseum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But my next question is, how did you have the vision? Because I know that, let's back up. You wanted to keep prices affordable.
Yes.
You saw elitism. Explain what your vision was to keep classes affordable for everybody.
Well, yoga traditionally has always been something that it's been an elitist practice because of the way that it started. So the first yoga studio in the United States was in California, okay? And it was actually started by an immigrant that was a woman that was in her 50s. I love that. So in her 50s, she started something, she started something new. But she was teaching movie stars, so she was teaching people that had
disposable income.
Right. And so then it always remained that way. And also the educated people were the ones that were interested in yoga, because yoga is so esoteric, and it's foreign, and a lot of people exotic, and some people are afraid of it, And so I was not an elitist. I mean, I was a deputy juvenile officer. I was a government employee that wanted to take yoga, and yoga was expensive even then. Even then, a monthly unlimited was expensive. It was already $100 and something for the month. So obviously, I made my lunch and ate my lunch, ate my own lunch, so that I could afford to go to a yoga studio. And I wanted to offer something that someone that could become dedicated to yoga and they could afford it. So a single mom could be doing some self-care. Someone that didn't have that much money, but they knew that they needed to do something for themselves, that they could afford it. And
you've done a wonderful job, and I appreciate it, because I've taken yoga down in the crossroads, and the pricing kept going up because the rents kept going up.
Right.
And you've countered that with this brilliant strategy of, like, maybe this is not the most glamorous building on the outside, but it's got the space and the energetic instructors and everything else going on. So, did you ever have reservations about signing the lease here, or like, is this going to work for us?
No reservation.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, because some people it's a big decision where you're going to lay roots. Let's talk about your favorite subject, marketing. I'm going to talk about the brand and marketing, but how would you describe the In Bliss brand? If someone, like, you were on the airplane with someone and like, oh, you're in a studio, what's it like? How do you describe what you've built here?
Well, what I wanted to do that was different, for example, from just community centers and gyms that do yoga, which I also taught at all of those places, I needed to bring in the sacred. So that's what's really different about our studio, is that our studio, it's not just about exercise, although of course yoga is about exercise, right? And sometimes when people first start doing yoga, they're doing it because they want to stay in shape, or they want to get in shape. It's all about the outside shape, which we need to take care of the outside shape. But yoga is also about quieting the mind. Yoga is really the first psychology. It's all about, all suffering is from the mind. It's what you think about, or the way that you see something. It's your own perception. And so I wanted to help people with that. So that's why we don't have any mirrors on the walls here.
I love it.
Because it's not about how you look.
No.
Okay, it's important, okay? But it's about how you feel. And so that's what we do here. We're here to help you connect with yourself and feel better about who you are, because you're beautiful, and you're beautiful on the inside. And we want that beauty from the inside to come out into the outside.
Well, that resonates with me, that you're bringing in the sacred. And that's what, I don't know how you did it, but you just embedded that in your practice or in the studio. So that's wonderful. And you've answered the question about keeping things affordable. Amen for that, because I don't think anyone else has that as a mission. I think everyone else is pretty much profit-driven, like, oh, how much can we charge? What was your best marketing decisions you've made over the years? What are the best and worst? Because everyone makes, you don't know, you're learning, and it's not a science. It's
Gosh,
like,
let me see. I'm not sure about the worst.
Well, I think maybe one of the best things was when we first got started, is that we did Groupon.
I was just going to say Groupon.
Thank you, Groupon.
Thank you, Groupon.
You helped us out a lot in the beginning, because since we were just getting started, the people that we had was my mom's following. People that had been following my mom from the different gyms.
The Marti groupies.
Yes, the Marti groupies, And when we joined Groupon, that's how we started getting our new flow. It was like opening this faucet of new people coming in. And we also felt like we couldn't afford to market. We couldn't afford an article in the pitch for $500.
Right.
We couldn't afford these things that kind of everybody else seemed to be doing. And so then when Groupon presented itself, instead of you having to pay Groupon, they take a cut, right? So they take 50% usually. I mean, it's kind of different, you know, but usually they take 50%. But they're doing all the advertising for you on Groupon. And I feel like at the time, Groupon was kind of exploding. Like everyone was like checking out Groupon and what deals they had.
So you've been a decade ago or 12 years ago.
Yes. Yeah, I felt like that's when, I mean, I'm sure Groupon's still popular now, but it kind of like was surging back then. I feel like it was a new thing. And that helped us tremendously.
I remember it was June of 2012 when the first like huge crop of students showed up. And we were like, whoa. And back then we didn't have Mind Body. We actually had index cards.
Yes.
We had index cards.
To sign in?
I mean, that's how we kept track of the classes. We were so old school.
I remember that at other places. You sign in and they count, 1, 2, 3, one more pass.
Exactly. Just like that,
yeah. So that's what we did. And so we write Groupon, you know, and we had the 10 or the 20, you know. And we'd make 10 little circles, 20 little circles and keep track of it. But I think that was the best thing we did to get started.
And you still do that a little bit, but not as much today, the Groupon specials.
We still do it. It's not that we do it any less. I just feel like we don't get as many people from it, which is what makes me feel like it's not as popular as it used to be.
Right.
Yeah. But we're still on there. We're still on Groupon.
Okay, anything marketing or business-wise that you think, oh man, that was a big learning mistake?
Luckily, we haven't taken that many risks in marketing, just because we always felt like we couldn't really afford it, you know. I do feel like we tried doing some of the newspaper things and got nothing out of it, you know. Like, I don't want to call out the newspaper, but we did pay $500 for a particular advertisement in a newspaper, and I even put in like a special phone number so I would know, you know, like, okay, if we get any calls on this like Google phone number, I know it's from this article we put out, you know. Nothing. I mean, we got no phone calls, no one coming in, even though we spent, and to us $500 was a big deal, you know.
Right.
And so we to us the newspapers and things hasn't really worked for us, so we didn't really try it again.
Yeah, and print is so gone now. I mean, everyone's advertising on Facebook and social media or digital. Have you tried any of that, or maybe you haven't had to?
Well, we do. We advertise on Instagram and on Facebook.
And that works for you?
Yeah, and people will come in and I'll say to people, hey, how did you find out? Facebook, I saw it on Facebook, I saw it on Instagram.
Good.
Okay, it's working.
Right, okay. So wonderful for not having to take a risk with anything else. I don't know if I think you just shared this. I was going to ask what your secret sauce was. I mean, you're 12 years from your opening. You have a wonderful relationship and partnership and respect for each of you as co-owners. But any other secret sauce that you just think, if you can't do it this way, it's not going to work. You know, so many people are opening businesses and failing. You know, I think at 5-year point, 90% of new businesses fail. Anything that you think this was what made us work?
Gosh, you know, I think it's a combination. I mean, obviously that we, you know, get along so well, and that we were able to attract to ourselves dedicated students. I mean, we really do have a dedicated group of people that come consistently. They're dedicated to themselves and they're dedicated to the practice, you know. And then the team of teachers that we have, they are also people that are very dedicated to their practice and love what they do. So I think with all this, you know, it's like we're like magnetized ourselves, you know, to just attract to ourselves like people. We attract to ourselves people that are like us. All of our students and our staff, we're all alike. You know, and what we're alike is that we love yoga. Right. You know, that's what we're alike, you know.
And you love each other.
And we love each other.
And I've been to a number of yoga studios, and it's not cliquey.
No.
And that's huge.
Everyone, this, you know, and I think, again, you know, we attract to ourselves what is like you, right? And so this, I feel, In Bliss Yoga is an international type of setting. We attract here people of all types of people, all nationalities, all races, all ages. You know, it's not just young people. We've got a big community of older retirees. We do have a lot of young people too. So and then we all just blend together. It's like a little melting pot of yoga.
And I didn't ask this during the marketing questions, but you've won a number of awards. There's one outside, I think it was the 2012 Best of Yoga in Kansas City Pitch Award, and then and other ones, right? I mean, you have a bunch.
Yes, we were in that top 3 multiple years in a row, rated top 3. And we haven't been in too many because we don't submit ourselves into these competitions. But what's been cool is even without us applying, we have won several of these competitions just from other people, I think, submitting us kind of into the...
You've given so much of yourself to the world that it's coming back to you.
Thank you.
I know when this was 2012, I was asking around, I'm like, where's some good yoga studios? And In Bliss came up every time from people. I mean, it's just, you've got a posse of people in Kansas City. Okay, so I'm going to ask this hard one, the last one about the money. They say that just an average yoga studio, 20 by 20, can make $20,000 a month, and that an above average one can make maybe $500,000 a year. And then you might not ever see one hit $1 million. That's like the unicorn that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Would you say you're kind of in between those last 2 levels, or?
We're honestly in the lower tier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't even make $20,000 a month.
And that's because you've chosen to make it affordable. My class pass, I think, is half or I don't know, quite a bit less than what I was paying downtown. So you're not in it for the money.
We're not in it for the money. Yeah, we're in it for the joy of it,
And it shows. It just absolutely shows.
Thank you.
Even coming here to film, it's just like, I feel like I've got my second class in today.
Yes.
So anything else that you would like to share to the world about the business of wellness? It sounds like it's worth it.
Yes. I think that it is something that is fulfilling. And so in life in general, what we need to look for is your dharma, which means purpose in Sanskrit. We all have a purpose. And whatever your purpose is, it's like you need to express it. It needs to come from you, and the world needs to have it from you. And I feel like it's been our purpose to teach yoga and to have a space, to create a space that is safe for everybody. So people always come here. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about nothing that is controversial. And I'll catch people and I'll say, this isn't the place. Go to the coffee shop. Okay? Go in your car to the coffee shop, and this is where you talk about it. But here is not the place. So no politics, nothing that is going to ruffle people's feathers or trigger anybody. This isn't the place.
Right.
Yeah,
I love it. Phones off, shoes off.
Yes.
Controversial stuff off.
Exactly. Look in. Start to look in so you can find your answers, because all of your answers are inside of you.
Yeah. So Kansas City is a big traveling hotspot. If you're coming to Kansas City, not just for the Chiefs, make sure you come by to In Bliss and drop in for a class or an experience. And if you're looking to be instructed or get your certification, these are the women to teach you. Thank you, Starr. Thank you, Marti.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brenda.